listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Hello, hello, hello. And if you hear my voice, then you know it's time to get tapped in. It is one of your hosts, ZaKiya Rogers. And Leonard is out of town today. And he will be back to tell us about his wonderful trip to New Orleans. And he's working on the revitalization of the block. But today, our special guest is Bethany Vance from MANNA Foodbank. Bethany, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell our guests about yourself, who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Bethany Vance, as you said. I am the community market supervisor for MANNA Foodbank.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of oversee all the markets that MANNA puts on. You know, we mostly work through partner agencies, but we do host some of our own markets.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm responsible for those and overseeing those, and then I work with you and Leonard at the county and get to put on community engagement markets. And just really enjoying getting out into the community and making sure folks have access to food.
Yeah. Now tell us, how many markets are in the county at this moment?
Oh my goodness. You know, I actually don't know that I know that off the top of my head, but community engagement markets, we have almost one every day, I would say. I mean,
Wow.
I'd say we have at least 3 a week. So, you know, you kind of do the math there, but we have a lot going on in Buncombe County.
And so statistically, how many people are you all feeding?
We serve the 16 westernmost counties of North Carolina. So, I mean, we feed a lot of people.
So it's the 16 westernmost counties. So it's like Catawba.
Not Catawba, actually, but basically,
Jackson.
Jackson, Polk, all those out there in like the real western parts of the state. Yep, we touch them too. Absolutely.
Okay, Murphy.
Yep.
Wow, that is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how long has MANNA been in operation?
Over 40 years.
Over 40 years. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely wonderful that someone saw the need, and it has, even though it continues to be a need, MANNA is still there.
Yeah. Started in the basement of a church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And recently, we know that we went through Helene together as a community, and the main plant for, I guess you say plant or operations building for MANNA was hit really bad. How did you all pivot? Because you all were still serving in the midst of Helene recovery. How did you all pivot, and where are you all now?
Yeah, so we lost our facility completely due to Hurricane Helene. So that actually made us the first Feeding America food bank to ever be destroyed in that way. So we lost both of our warehouses, we lost all of our food, equipment, so think pallet jacks, forklifts, refrigerated trailers. Thankfully, our operations team had the foresight to move our trucks to higher ground. That is literally the only thing we made it out with after Helene. So we had to start completely fresh. So our total losses exceed about $28 million. But despite that loss, since just 3 days after the storm, we've been up and running and trying to get food to our neighbors. Some folks will remember the kind of chaotic Wild West food distributions we were doing at the farmers market. But I mean, that was just immediately, you know, trying to get out there and get food to the people that need it. So since then, we've just been in full disaster response mode. So just working to replace our critical equipment since we lost everything, including our food.
Wow.
And then also just still working to get food out to all the people in all 16 counties. I mean, you know, like certain counties were hit harder than others, but you know, we're still trying to feed those communities out in those western, you know, parts that we were just talking about that maybe they weren't hit as hard by Helene, but they're still facing food insecurity. So just balancing a lot all at once. But I would say that, I mean, what began as a sprint for us immediately after Helene has now become, you know, kind of a full marathon just due to the losses of so many lives, livelihoods, homes, businesses. But I mean, we're doing all we can, and our operations are fully up and running, and we're delivering food and supplies all over Western North Carolina. So we're back at it.
Wow. And I think people don't understand that, you know, you're one of the main, if not the main, food distributor in this area. And so not only do you have community markets, you also provide food for kids who are going home on weekends as well.
Absolutely.
So how are those programs coming back in?
Yeah, they are back up and running. We're back at it. Yeah, so that's our MANNA Packs program, probably what people know it as. So yeah, the program is that through the school system in Western North Carolina, we distribute packs of food to kids discreetly as we can, and try to make it as a discreet a process as possible, and just make sure that kids that maybe are facing a little bit of food insecurity at home aren't going home with nothing to eat on the weekends. And yeah, we were able to get that program back up and running very quickly because we knew that was going to be important. And as soon as school started back, basically we were doing snack drop-offs immediately as we were kind of getting the program back up and running. But it's fully operational now. We're touching more schools than ever, I would say, and so that program is stronger than ever. Yeah.
That is awesome. So how, I know you said a lot of folks were displaced and you had to get a new facility. How has your volunteer population returned? How's that going?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were a little bit concerned about volunteers. We moved out to Mills River where our new location is, so we were not as central to Asheville, but we've just seen such an outpouring of support from our community. It's truly just been a blessing. We just had so many people who were already dedicated volunteers, but people who heard about what we were doing and just wanted to jump in there. We've seen a lot of great volunteers come out of this. And like I said, we've had a lot of just loyal people that have been with us for years and have followed us out to Mills River, which we were worried about, but we're very glad that we still have that really dedicated core of volunteers.
So what would you say the percentage of the work that is done on the new facility? How much more do you think you can do?
Man, so we got a lot to do with the new facility. So luckily, just 2 days before Hurricane Helene, MANNA, our board, had already voted to purchase that warehouse.
Wow.
So that was just a blessing in disguise. And that's at 99 Broad Point Drive in Mills River, just so everyone knows where to find us. So remarkably, when the floodwaters destroyed our other facility, we were able to secure a temporary lease for the Mills River warehouse, which allowed us to move immediately and continue food distribution. Now, it's a great location and it provided a great jumping off point for us. But like I said, we have a lot of work to do. So the next steps for MANNA will be to upfit our warehouse. That'll take probably like 12 to 18 months while we continue disaster response and food distribution efforts. So kind of the term we're using right now is we're building the plane as we fly it, because we're working out of this space and trying to maintain operations and increase operations, but also knowing that we're just missing a lot of the stuff we need, thinking like refrigeration and freezer space. Like that's something we really need in order to have the amount of produce and frozen foods that we like to have. But that's just something we're going to have to kind of figure out as we go, and we're doing it. It's requiring a lot of flexibility, and we're having to get creative with our work, but we're so blessed to have that facility, because if we hadn't had that lined up, I truly, I don't know what we would have done. So we were able to really just kind of jump in there and get things started. But it's a long road ahead as far as us being, a full food bank again in that facility. But we're getting there.
And so are you all building your refrigeration area? And so this will be larger than what you had as the central.
It will be
location.
much larger. So that is another thing, is part of the reason, honestly, the reason we were looking for a new facility was just we were out of space at the other one. It was a great location, but we just were running out of room. So we really needed that big warehouse space.
And you all lost absolutely 100% everything inside of there.
Yes.
Nothing was salvageable.
No, I don't know if anyone's been able to drive past there, but it's
the road just got fixed.
Just
recently reopened, and I drove by, and it is amazing that the pieces of the structures that are standing up are still standing.
I know.
Because the trucks are flipped over and all of those things. And, a lot of us count ourselves as lucky, but, it's still okay to grieve and be grateful at the same time. And I am just grateful that you all were able to pivot, and that, the universe set up those things for you all to purchase that building and move in. So what would be the great things about this new building? You all, you're saying 12 to 18 months before you all full ribbon cutting.
That's the dream.
Yeah, the dream. We're
Yes,
gonna say
that's the
2
dream.
years.
Yeah,
We're gonna say
that's
2
the dream.
years. What will be in this facility that was not in the other?
Yeah, that's a great question also. So, I mean, mostly, again, just having way more space. We were truly just we were stuffed at the other facility to the point where it's like genuinely, what do we do? So we're going to have so much more room to house product. And we're really looking forward to, like I said, to having that freezer and refrigeration space. It'll be much larger than what we had last time in our former facility, because that's just going to allow us to have a lot more, produce available, some more fresh foods available, which, folks are always asking for. So really excited about that. We also will need to build, we have our beautiful volunteer center at our former facility. Anyone who was able to volunteer at our former facility saw, we just had this awesome space. And so working on getting that back up and running, having a space for our volunteers to really safely work and get some of that, important stuff done, like building the MANNA packs, for example. Our volunteers build those. And so, just having that good space for our volunteers to go to and do that important work. And yeah, we're just having more truck space, having more truck docks, all this fun operational logistics stuff. But it's important, and it helps. It keeps us more efficient and able to get food out better for our neighbors. So I'm just really excited for us to be able to really move into this awesome new warehouse space and make it work for us.
And what does the need look like now in the community? Because we've always had issues with food insecurities, but how does that need shifted since the presence of Helene?
Yeah, it's increased. I mean, just to put it simply, like I said, we have a lot of people that lost their homes, their employers. I was very fortunate that, even though my employer was completely washed away, I was still able to, keep a job, but a lot of people haven't been. And so that's something that we're seeing a lot. And I'm having a lot of people come up to me at markets and say, hey, I used to donate to MANNA, and I used to, be someone who volunteered at MANNA, but now I'm finding myself needing MANNA for the first time. And, it's kind of it's a weird place to be in. Yeah. Mentally, it's hard for folks. And I totally understand, and that's something that we're hearing a lot of people just saying, I've never, needed these resources before, and I need them now. And then also a lot of people that we were already seeing had additional damage to their home and just have additional, financial responsibilities that they might not have had before. So we're definitely seeing an increase in need, unfortunately, which is par for the course when things like this happen. But it'll be a long time before we see any sense of normalcy.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time, don't rush, and to not be embarrassed to need.
No.
We are all in a space of needing because of what has gone on. I mean, we've lost so much, and not, just physical and emotional loss and mental health loss. We've lost financially as well. And so therefore, a storm came and all these things occurred, but our bills never stopped.
Exactly.
And so therefore, I encourage our listeners, if you are needing food, go on MANNA Foodbank's webpage, and you can see the community engagement market schedule as well. And what if someone has missed that market for that day and it's not another until the next week? How are they able to get in contact with MANNA and get a MANNA pack or something like that to hold them over to the next market?
That's a great question. So MANNA mostly, while we do host our own markets, and that's a big chunk of what we do, we mostly work through partner agencies. So think like a church or a nonprofit or a school that is in the area that has their own food pantry. What they're doing is they're getting their food from us, and then they're distributing it to the community however they see fit. So we have distributions going on, I'd say every day all over Western North Carolina. So as you were mentioning on our website we also have, if you go up the very top of the page, it says Find Food. If you click on Find Food and you just scroll down on that very page, there is what we call our food finder. So if you're thinking I live in Hendersonville and I missed that one market over in, wherever, so let me find another one. You go on the food finder, you just type in, your zip code or whatever you're looking for, really, just however, the hours you're looking for. and any of those, you know, any qualifiers that you're looking for, you can type in and it will show you what markets or what pantries we have available for you that meet what you're looking for. So if you're like, I need to go on Saturday morning, you can search for that. So I would definitely recommend folks checking out our food finder if they're looking for food on the weekend or after they just missed a market, or, you know, if they're just not sure.
And
what's
there are
available.
markets on the weekend.
Yes, there are.
Because I know some people may work Monday through Friday, and most of the markets are during 3 to 5, 3 to 5:30, and they may not make it. So therefore, there are availabilities on the weekend.
Yes. So with the markets that we host, we typically do not host them on the weekends, just the nature of our work. But a lot of our partner agencies are open on the weekends and have distribution. So if you're only able to get food on the weekends, there are still plenty of options for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely awesome. Just how you know, we're rebuilding, and you know, the options for food out there. Are there other things that you all are seeing in this need, well, in this climate of a recovery? Are there other things that you're seeing?
I mean, we always, you know, food is a big thing that people ask for, but we also just get a lot of questions about, I mean, financial assistance in general. I've had a lot of questions about rent assistance. You know, we're talking about, you know, your bills didn't go away during Helene. So I'm seeing a big need and request for just additional resources, which we always, you know, at MANNA, we try to provide not only food, but just, you know, whatever else you might need if you're struggling with food insecurity. So a lot of our markets and our CEMs as well, we have other, what we call wraparound services, other resources that we bring in. So thinking like, you know, medical clinics, or, you know, even some rent assistance occasionally, just things that folks might be able to benefit from aside from just food.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of requests for just, additional things that people are dealing with if they're facing food insecurity more than likely. So just help with bills, utilities, things like that.
Wow. Yeah. Randy, did you just say we had 4 minutes? I did 3 minutes? Oh wow, we have 3 minutes.
All right.
Oh, so what would you like to leave our community with?
Yeah, well, since we've been talking a little bit about our community engagement markets, I just want to say that, you know, most importantly, they're back up and running.
Yes.
They were on pause during Helene, but we are fully back up and running. There's a couple that are not happening at the schools, but every housing site and every community center where we were hosting markets, we're back up and running. So we have one today at Rock Hill Missionary Baptist Church in the Shiloh community from 3 to 5 p.m., weather permitting, but I think it'll be fine. We're going to have fresh produce, bread, frozen chicken, eggs, free eggs, snacks, dried fruit, beans, masa, all that. So definitely come out and check that out today. And if you can't make it today, we have another tomorrow at Klondike Homes from 3 to 5 p.m. as well, and they'll have pretty much the same foods I just mentioned. All are welcome, so even if you don't live immediately in those communities, please come out. And you can find, like you said, a calendar of these events on our website. And we just encourage folks to come out, because we know things are hard right now. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, I want to make sure that the less fortunate have what they need, or people that, you know, might need more than me, but we've all been through a lot. And I think we all deserve a hand. So if you're struggling a little bit and you want to come out and get some free groceries, please do.
So Randy just alerted me that he read it wrong. We have 10 minutes.
Okay.
So that's even better. Now you were saying, so now I know people are very worried because food prices have gone up.
Yes.
And people may feel that MANNA markets are only for if you have nothing. MANNA is also there if you need to close those gaps. No one needs to suffer.
Absolutely.
And no one has to suffer. You know, there are so many outlets out here. The one thing I love about Shiloh Market is there's a older woman there named Miss Angela. And if there is something there and you don't know how to cook it, if you ask her, she will tell you how to cook it. I love that. And that's what I've noticed about a lot of the markets. There's usually an older person there who will, if you say, I don't even know what to do with this, they'll say, oh, come here. And they will give you an entire lesson. So my thing is, it's not just a service. It is a community. It's a family.
It is.
And it's a beautiful community because the thing is, these are folks who are there because they care, and they want all of us to thrive. We just survived a very horrific storm, and right now we're still trying to survive, but now we need to move into thriving. And our markets are back. Now, you said Klondike is tomorrow.
Klondike's tomorrow.
Yeah, and we know that we had lost a lot of the markets during the beginning of the natural disaster, but now they're picking up. The schools are starting to be able to pick those back up as well. Where are some locations where you're seeing greater request?
Inside Buncombe County or outside of Buncombe County?
Either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say outside of Buncombe County, some of our hardest hit areas were, the Mitchell, Avery, Yancey areas. And then also we think like McDowell and like the Old Fort area. So those are some of the areas that we're really focusing on right now because there's some serious devastation in those areas, and that's definitely a big chunk of our service region. I'm actually from McDowell, so I'm a little biased, but that's an area that we definitely gotta show some love the next few months. But like I said, we also have to keep up with our regular service region and make sure that everyone else is feeling supported as well. We weren't the only places that were hit, so it's just kind of that balance. And now in Buncombe County, I mean, it's always kind of hit or miss depending on where you go. Sometimes you go to an area and they've been receiving a lot of great help from a local organization or another local church, and they might not need us as much. But there are some areas that I would say that I've definitely seen a little less love. I'm kind of thinking maybe like the Fairview area, so we're very glad to have our CEM back and running at the Fairview Library. Also on that note, there's also the FEMA resource center there at that library. So if anyone is looking to get some food and also some FEMA resources, definitely check out that upcoming CEM. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, mostly we're seeing needs in the places that were just hit the hardest by Helene. So I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we're going to have resource services coming up. The one that we were having tomorrow at Owen High School is canceled, but we have another one coming up on the 27th, and that will be at Reynolds High School, and that's from 5 to 7. And then our next one will be at the Leicester Community Center. No, that's the 27th, and the other one is the 22nd. I apologize. And the 25th, I'm sorry, 25th and the 27th. And then on March 3rd, we will hold the Owen one at the Owen School. And that will be from 4:30 to 7. And it's just because the weather, we know how our roads are. They're very sensitive. If they don't get enough sun and it doesn't dry up, it turns into ice. And so we want to make sure that we are all safe and all well taken care of. So what are some things we can look forward to the future with MANNA?
Yeah, so again, just really encouraging folks to come out to our community engagement markets. I think they're awesome and they're a lot of fun. Like you were saying, it's a great sense of community, and you really do start to see the same people and get to know folks, and it's a great feeling. We also yesterday hosted our first distribution at the Asheville Mall, actually, which was a huge hit. It was very exciting, and we were able to distribute over 3,500 pounds of food just out of the mall yesterday. So we're planning on hosting a distribution again there next month since that one went so well. So folks, be on the lookout. Come out to the mall, do a little shopping, grab you some free groceries while you're there. It was a lot of fun. And we're hoping to also include some more of our wraparound services like I was referencing earlier. So next time we're hoping to have someone from our SNAP team, so the folks who sign folks up for SNAP applications. We'll hope to have someone there on site doing SNAP applications or answering questions for anyone who has questions about their SNAP benefits. And we're going to keep growing these and just doing what we can to support the community in every way, shape, form, food, but also other resources too. So just be on the lookout for that, and then we're going to keep working on the facility. It'll like we said, it'll be 12 to 18 months ideally, but we hope to have it done as soon as we can, and then we hope to have like a kind of community engagement event, invite some folks out to come and see everything, and yeah, just to celebrate what we were able to do with the new space.
Yes. So is there any last message you want to give to everyone in our community?
Again, I want to say that we've all been through a lot with Helene, and even if you haven't found yourself feeling comfortable before coming out for additional food and resources, I encourage you to do so, because it also destigmatizes it and just makes everyone feel more comfortable accessing these awesome resources that our community has that we should all be taking advantage of. We've all been through a lot. Everyone's experiencing high grocery prices. All are in your family. When you ask you anything about just get some groceries.
I just want to say thank you so much, Bethany, for coming and spending your time with us on this snowy day. When you all listen to this, it may not hopefully hold, but I want to say to those who are listening to in the tapped in link and needing help does build or what you're supposed to all fall into needing times. This allows relationships. Sometimes situations occur because it is time for us to meet new people, come into our lives, to come into someone else. So instead of formal or that society has put on food and service, let's not allow those things from keeping you from thriving. We are all I the markets for myself and my family. During all money has been I've had to go and I've taken other people with me. Do not feel you get things somebody else worse. There's enough for all of us to go around, and there's enough for all of us together and be. Never know what happened up enough, and you want to volunteer, do that as well. And if we're not working together, then we're not working. And with that being said, you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Nashville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.